What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Off the Dribble. Today is a little bit of a different episode. We have Matt here. He's from a social media page called the Daily Wolves. They're a pretty big social media page. They cover the Wolves on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. They do a podcast. So, Matt, thank you for joining and taking the time to be here today. If you just wanted to introduce yourself real quick before we get into some Wolves talk.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Matt, 22, as he said, part of the social media team, the Daily Wolves. Been a Wolves fan pretty much my whole life, and yeah, just love talking hoops, and I appreciate you having me on.
Yep. Thank you for coming again, and we'll get right into it. This is actually a great time to do the show because the Wolves just had a pretty big win yesterday over the Thunder, coming off of a 5-game losing streak, then 2 wins against a beat-up Warriors team, and then a Mavs team that didn't have Cooper Flag. So this is definitely a win that the Wolves needed to kind of get in the right direction. What were your overall takes from like the start of the game? Because I think the biggest thing is the Wolves actually started the game off like in the driver's seat compared to them like being down.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the biggest thing with this team, it's not that talent's never there because you have
Mhm.
the guys, you have Ant, you have Julius, who you have Jaden, who I think is one of the most criminally offensive raiders or criminally underrated offensive threats in the game. But it just comes down to hustle. It comes down to effort. That's
Mhm.
what it is with this team. Like if you guys are on the Wolves side of Twitter, you see it. Like the question with this team is, and do they want it? And this is something that they've like struggled with over probably the last 3, 4 years now since they've been a relevant team. They just play down to certain teams levels that they shouldn't, like the Jazz, like the Nets that we've lost to this year. And when you play up against a team like OKC, it just makes those bad losses so much more frustrating because you're in a stacked Western Conference, and when you go on a 5-game losing streak, that is detrimental to your standings ranking and where you're at. What was it before the 5-game losing streak? We were third, and now we're fifth, 3 games
Yep.
back from third. So
Mhm.
every single win matters in the West. But all in all, last night I think was probably the best game we've seen the guys play all year. And yeah, it was super refreshing to see a good, hard fought game versus kind of a lackluster game like against the
Mhm.
Warriors or the Mavs. So all around, I'll give them a solid A performance from last night.
I agree. And I think like the biggest thing is like we didn't just like lean on Ant like the team does, especially
Yes.
when there's no like offensive juice in the beginning of games. It was kind of passed around like fully. Like Julius didn't really have it going in the first quarter, but he found his rhythm throughout the game. I think Jaden, like the step he's made with his shooting, it's like been amazing because now like even though some people, for example, there was a play where Shea actually went under a screen and then like dared Jaden to shoot. You can't do that anymore when you're guarding Jaden. So I think all like the different help you're getting is pretty impressive. And again, like we have players like Nas, who in my opinion is probably playing like some of the best basketball he's played since
Oh
being
yeah.
on the Wolves. So it's good. I agree. I think the next thing this actually goes hand in hand with what I wanted to get into next is where do you think the inconsistencies like stem from like within the team? Because we just saw like a 5-game losing streak to teams like the Jazz, like you said, to teams like the Warriors where you get blown out. And then you come back and then you basically have a dominant win against the number one team in the league.
Yeah, so again, it's strange with this team because it you see the talent there every night,
Yeah,
and again, I'd want to say it's the effort, but that's kind of a boring answer, I guess. So like the two things that it's kind of been like that I've seen this year is, well, free throws have just killed us.
100%.
Against the Rockets, I know we missed like 9 free throws. It was in that 5-game losing streak, I think, and we
Yep.
lost by 4. The following game, there was something. It might have been the Jazz game. I don't remember what game it was, but it came down to free throws again. So just executing on like every little thing you can do. That's what you need to do in the NBA. You're playing against the best athletes in the world. I mean, we see it time in and time out. 20-point leads are not safe. It doesn't matter how much time's on the clock.
Agreed.
So yeah, just the little things there. And then just mainly taking care of the ball. Like the Wolves, when they're taking care of the ball, like you saw it last night, they look like the best team in the league and they look unstoppable when the shots are falling.
Mhm.
But when the turnovers start, they just tend to snowball. Like one turnover turns into like a one pass, isolated, quick shot, like 5 seconds out of the shot clock, and then try to do too much, make a stupid turnover, and it just turns into a snowball effect. And then boom, before you know it, the other team's on a 10-0 run. So
Exactly.
it's just playing within yourself and like playing smart. So that's kind of the biggest thing that I would say for this team with just where they could improve if they want to stay competitive and remain a threat in the West for the playoffs.
I know a lot of people on like Twitter and social media kind of blame the inconsistencies on like Finch as a coach and maybe his approach towards the team. Do you think that has anything to do with it? Because Finch multiple times in like press game, post game conferences, he said that like I harp on the guys about like doing like certain things, and it's like after a certain point, like it's not really up to me as a coach. Like the players have to go out and do it. So like, are you with all like the fans that say like Finch is too inconsistent of a coach and just reached his ceiling, or do you think like it's on the players to like go out and do it themselves?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both for sure because Chris Finch, I think with Finch, people like to focus on his flaws more than they do his positives and what he does right for teams. And yes, I know he has some very questionable decisions that he makes on a night-to-night basis, whether it's rotation based, whether it's how many minutes certain players are getting or whatever the case may be. But I think that Finch, the guys are really bought into Finch. You hear it around the locker room. They all love Finch. They think he's the guy they want to play for Finch. So I don't for all the people talking about calling for Chris Finch's job, maybe if we lost a few more games over these last three, then I don't know, maybe there would be some valid arguments. But Chris Finch, like people forget he's the best coach our franchise has ever had, and it's not particularly close win percentage wise.
I agree.
So yeah, like no, I think that Finch is definitely the guy, and he's going to be here for the long run. And I don't necessarily think that he's reached his ceiling.
Yep.
It's just if you think back to the 2024 playoff run, like we were just gassed. We weren't
Mhm.
ready to play 100 games. We didn't. I think Cat got shut down that series. We didn't have Jaden's offensive game didn't evolve. Nikhil wasn't who Nikhil was in 2025 or yeah,
And
2025.
Ant was inefficient during that series as well. Like through and
Yeah.
throughout, the whole team was kind of like tired. I'm pretty sure it was like the majority of everyone's like first time going in a deep playoff run as well, like other than Rudy and Mike too. So it's kind of hard to beat like Luca and Kyrie when you have like guys like Ant who's like 24 years old. So I agree. I
Yeah,
agree with
absolutely. And then you just look back to last season. The Thunder were just a better team, and
that.
that's okay. They had a great
Yeah.
game plan to stop Julius. You triple team him, double team him, and he tends to hold the ball. And
Yep.
Julius is going to be Julius, and you
Yeah.
can't do anything about that. So the Thunder were just a better team. But yeah, going to back Western Conference Finals with the current state that the league is in, it's no joke. So long story or long summary short, yes, I think that Finch is the guy.
I agree. Especially like it's not like we went to back like Eastern Conference Finals. Like you did it
Yeah.
in the West, which is like arguably like probably the hardest the West has like ever been since being in the league. But I agree with that. That kind of moves on to like the next thing I wanted to talk about is with the rotations and everything, with like Mike Conley's contract. I wanted to get into some of like the trades that have been talked about throughout the season, especially since the trade deadline's about to come up in like a couple of days. Do you think it's necessary for the Wolves to actually go out there and go all in on the Giannis trade like we've been seeing reports on, or do you think we should stick with just trying to get some bench depth or a Kobe White kind of point guard?
So I- I'm I'm so torn on that because reason A, you get two top five players playing in the league together. Say for some reason we do get Giannis.
Yeah,
And Giannis with a solid defensive squad who can knock down some shots is an instant shot and an instant favorite to be a title contender. So that would be awesome. But on the other hand, it's just you see the reports on what the Bucks want. They want all the picks. They want young guys and we have some picks, but we don't really have young guys. So it would have to be a guy like Jaden, I feel like. And you kind of asked the question, do you sell high on Rudy or what? Like, it's just what is the package of players? And yeah, it's just I I don't know. I really don't know. But me personally, I would not sell the house for Giannis. I think that we're kind of like a seventh man away, like you were saying. Like not somebody who's going to play the Nikhil role, but somebody who has the upside of a Nikhil Alexander Walker. So guys that I've really liked and that I've been hearing the Wolves are linked to. Keon Ellis and Devin Carter. Two guards, or I guess Keon's kind of a 2-3 hybrid, but Devin Carter, another young guard. You could trade Dillingham and Leonard Miller to Sacramento, and I think that would fit the Sacramento timeline. It would make sense for him. You get
Agreed.
a young guard, and you get Keon Ellis, who is an instant, I guess, difference maker. He's one of the best 3-and-D players in the league, and he's kind of seemed as been deemed the trade chip, the 3-and-D guy to get over what the past year and a half now.
Yeah.
So I think that's an interesting one. And to go back to what you said about the Kobe White, I'm not. I'm one of the people that I'm not really big on Kobe White, to be honest. I like the other guard. I like Ao Dusumu.
Yep.
Like I think that right now defense is kind of what we need more importance on. And Ao can guard 2 through 4. He's a strong guard.
Yep.
And yeah, the offense is there. He doesn't need the ball to be productive. He's kind of like a Jaden
Mhm.
to a degree, but more of a shooter. He gets the ball when within the flow of the offense, and when his shot's there. So I think that, not having somebody who's going to take a ton of touches away from Ant, but still has a bunch of scoring upside would be good for this team. So those are my two favorite guys, Keon Ellis and Ao Dusumu. What do you think on that? I'm kind of curious what you have to say about the Giannis and then the Kobe White stuff.
So on the Giannis part, like yesterday, I was like, it like really, like you said, it really does depend on who we have to give up. But after a game like Jaden has against the Thunder, where you really, really see like the 3-point shooting and like that efficiency, like really going up consistently, like it makes you really think, like, do you want to give up like two key starters and then like the majority of your bench depth for like 3 or 4 years of title contention? And plus, like that adds a lot more pressure too, because you got to think about it. If you have Giannis and Ant on the same team, like you're basically kind of required to go out there and win a title. Even now, like even to kind of keep Ant happy in the next couple of years, like we should really be trying to win titles and contend. Like that shouldn't be a question. But I think keeping the talent we have and like you said, just adding like that one extra piece, I think can do a lot more for us than doing a long haul in the middle of a season when you're actually playing decent basketball and then have to start everything over. But I was a little bit more intrigued with the Kobe White stuff. I think just because of his ability to just like purely get a bucket. Um, I agree with the defensive lapses with him. Like it doesn't really help when you have like really two bad off-ball defenders already in Ant and Julius who are going to be starting, and then you add in a weaker point of attack defender like Kobe White that involves more kickouts and that involves Ant and Julius actually having to lock in a little bit more defensively, which you don't really want to lean on as much as you want to unless it's like a one-on-one battle. Someone Io is someone I'm really into. Keon Ellis would also be really cool. I would really like Trey Jones, especially after the game he had
Yeah.
against us. He was when he played us, man, it kind of looked like exactly what we needed, like a point guard that can just go into the paint, like collapse the defense, like take some pressure off of Ant, like get Ant some a little bit more reps on the offensive side of the ball where he's not bringing the ball up, like find him in the post. Like even yesterday during the Thunder game, I think there was a couple possessions like out of bounds plays where we were trying to get the ball to Ant, and you can kind of tell like us not having like a point guard to set up the offense like that, like it really hurt us. Like, and I feel like somebody like Trey Jones could really help. But I agree. I don't think like right now is the time for us to go all in and put all the chips in the bag for Giannis. And I think we do the opposite and make like a smaller trade to see if that helps and use his core and go and contend.
Absolutely, I agree. I think that would just be the best move for us in the long run because it's like you have the questions too, like
Mm-hmm.
with how well Jaden's been playing. I personally think that Jaden deserves a much higher offensive load, and I understand that sure that might take away from some of his intensity on defense, but it's like he deserves it. He's at a career high usage rate. He's shooting the second best efficiency he's had throughout his career. He's a 57% three-point shooter from the right corner, 50% from the top of the break, and it's like he has broken out, and I almost wonder if possibly we move on from Julius Randle here coming sometime soon, maybe in the offseason, with how well Naz Reid has been playing. Because I firmly believe you give Naz 30 minutes a night, he's a 20 to 22 points game, or he'll give you 20 to 22 a night. and the defense has looked a lot better for Nas than
I agree with
it
that.
did in the start of the season. And you got to account for like the stuff that Nas had to go through off the court with
Yep.
his sister and all that, just kind of due to like the lackluster start. But as of the last 2 months, dude, Nas Reed has been like the best bench piece in the NBA for what, like the last 2, 3 years.
Yep.
And yeah, I think that Nas is just he's ready. He's ready for his shot. Move off Julius and kind of see what you can do from there. So that's just kind of something that I've been keeping in the back of my head. I
Mhm.
love Julius, but at the end of the day, it's a business. And Nas
It is.
Reed and Julius Randle, to a certain degree, are kind of similar players. So yeah, that's just kind of my 2 cents on it.
I like that. I like that kind of idea of taking it to the off season and using that to make decisions because I feel like you said, like Nas's defensive versatility, it's a lot better than Julius. Like we've seen Julius like lock in on the defensive end against like Wemby, against like Shea yesterday. There's been a couple
Yes.
plays where he was able to guard 1-on-1, but there's also games where like you just see the body language. Like he just like after somebody beats him on the backdoor cut, like he'll look at Rudy and he'll be like, "Yo, what are you doing?" When you know it's like when he knows it's his fault. So
Yeah.
I feel like Nas gives consistent effort, like more so during the regular season, and I think consistently that would put us in a better place. So I think the best thing to do would maybe use Julius's contract to move him for like a solidified point guard. My ideal point guard would be a Darius Garland, something like that, as like a two next to Ant. But again, like that's another thing where like the defensive lapses kind of don't fit around our team. So I want to see what you think with that. Like if we were to do like a Julius Randle for Darius Garland swap like in the offseason.
I mean, I'm not. See, I was a lot more intrigued about Darius Garland, kind of at the beginning of the year, like, and I
Mhm.
know I was after he was coming off the injury, and it kind of seemed like the Cavs were almost sell high or just advertise it that hey, we're trying to move Garland, and it
Yeah,
seemed a little off to me, and like he's hurt the toe again this year. He's been hurt twice, I believe, so, and I'm just not big on uh shifty undersized guards like in Minnesota, you have Ant who's going to turn the ball over a ton. And it's like
mhm,
we've seen it the last 2 years when you have Cat and Ant, who are both high turnover players. And now Julius and Ant, both,
both
and
high.
I understand high usage, but high turnover players. Yes. Darius Garland can take care of the ball, but this year it just seems like he's kind of regressed. And I don't know if it's because of injury or what's going on with Cleveland, but like I think I'd be out on a guy like Darius, to be fully honest. But yes, I do like your idea of getting a
Mhm.
point guard or even like something like another wing, because I think
Yep,
that you don't necessarily need a big guy to be the number two option. I think a
I
dynamic
see.
wing just to take the pressure off of Ant on the perimeter, because Ant's one of the top three most blitz players in the NBA. You
Yeah,
need help like that, and that's why last offseason, Kevin Durant was an intriguing piece because he instantly takes away an Ant double. How many possessions per game. So yeah, I would like to see what the Wolves do. And like I said, I sound like a broken record, but the point guard is interesting. And yeah, I think that we need to give Nas a shot and go get ourselves a dynamic wing or a point guard.
I agree. But before we do that, we have to like kind of obviously we have to finish the rest of the season. But just to end the pod, we wanted to do a little last segment. What are your like expectations for the team like going to the playoffs? Like where do you expect us to be in the rankings? Like what do you think like would like end up being a successful season for this team, especially after going to the Western Conference Finals last year? Because in my eyes, I think this team is like from top to bottom. If you really look at the talent, it's there. Like
Yeah.
your whole starting five, like very talented offensive players, can do anything versatility wise. And then you have players like Nas that come off the bench. I still think that if TSJ is used correctly and has his confidence when he comes back from injury, can be a really good dynamic bench piece for us. He's shown that kind of consistency. And like you said, if we do go make a trade for someone like Keon Ellis or something like that, I think that would really put us in like the 4-3 range in standings. But the only problem in my head is that if we get the 4 seed and you do win that first round game, you end up playing the winner of the 1-8 game, which would be the Thunder
Yeah.
most likely. So that's where you would either want to be like realistically the 3 or 6 seed, but like what is your take on like what do you think the team should do? Like what is like a successful season going into the standings and the playoffs?
Well, I think, obviously, like, it's just important. You wanna go out, you wanna win as many games as you can. That's what these guys are paid to do. That's what they love to do. We have a
Yeah.
very competitive, hot-headed, young, kinda old now group of guys
Yeah.
who are hungry to go out and win, and they show their emotion. But, I'm not necessarily sold,
Yeah.
um, excuse me, on this team being as consistent as we would like to hope.
Mhm.
I know that they usually figure it out at some point in the second half of the season, but I think realistically we're somewhere in the 4 through 5 range. I could even see
Yep.
us slipping to 6, just
Yeah.
however things play out. If Phoenix continues to stay hot, if the Lakers can make a trade, get off Aiton, get like a Trey Murphy, I think that changes the whole dynamic in LA. So yeah, there's a lot of if factors, but like you said earlier, the West is one of the more talented conferences that are one of in the most talent that it's ever had. So it's like there is a lot of questions, but I think ultimately a successful season. You obviously can't get bounced first round. Just but with how things have been this year, you get past the second round, it's a success. But I think the guys think it's finals or bust. You've been there. You've been so close 2 times. You've only won 2 Western Conference Finals games in the last 2 years, which
Yeah.
absolutely stinks. So I think if you're the players on the team, it's championship or bust.
Mhm.
That's kind of where we're at. I think that maybe I think we're probably 1 year, maybe 2 years away from like our window actually being there. This could be our first year that it's open, but I think that we are right there. So yeah, that's my take on it.
I agree. I think like what you said specifically, like we went to the conference finals 2 years in a row and have only won 2 games in total in those 2 years. I feel like if you get to the point again where you're in the conference finals and the same thing happens where you lose in 5, like that's a little concerning. But like for example, if you go to the conference finals, you take it to 7 against the Thunder, and then you were like right there and you lose. Like I don't really I personally still would go out and make some sort of, I mean, knowing Tim Conley, like, I think he would, after a scenario like that, would probably
Yeah.
go and make some sort of trade that would probably involve Julius Randle, like we both think. But for, like, hypothetically, and like we both hope it doesn't happen. For example, say like the team falls apart come playoff time and they do lose in the first round when they're expected to win. Do you think like Finch goes after that? Like, do you think that would cause like an immediate reaction to like something in the team like happening immediately?
I think it's kind of just how it were to like play out. It would be like if Chris Finch refuses to play like Bones or JC, and like we run a 7-man rotation, and it's Mike, Nas, and the occasional Jalen Clark or Bones Highland minutes, then I think maybe it would maybe call for Finch's name, but I don't really think Finch would have to be too worried. It's a lot of the times it's on the players. Like they've came out and said too, like when we follow the game plan, like we win. When we don't, the stupid losses and just the unnecessary turnovers, like that's how they come to be. So
I agree.
it would sure be underwhelming, but I think Finch's job is pretty safe. I will say though, I think a Mike Nori coach team would be very interesting, and they would be a different team than a coached by Chris Finch. So just that little nugget in there, but yeah, I think Finch, no matter kind of how the season ends, I think he's still with us.
Yeah, I agree. I think Finch is like you said in the beginning of the podcast, like people like to point out his flaws because the flaws come out pretty big when a team loses to like the Nets or the Bulls or the Jazz, but like people tend to forget that after years of not making the playoffs, he's led them to 2 Western Conference Finals, like 4 playoff appearances in a row. Like you can't really discredit him for that. But I also agree. Like I think Nori, like if a change were to be made, like I wouldn't be mad with Nori being head coach. I think he brings a different dynamic to the team. He does let the guys play a little bit faster, like based on what I
Yeah.
see, which is I kind of like. Like I think the team we have is more fit to play in the open court rather than the half court. And Finch likes to play in the half court a lot, which it kind of makes sense with his philosophy because he's more of like an old style coach. You could see it because he's a defensive first coach, likes to lean on his veterans. But it's it seemed to work. It seems to work still, and like I don't think like his job is anywhere near like in danger, like you said. So I agree with that. And just to end it off, we can just quickly. I just wanted to touch on Ant's like progression from like last season to this season. What have you like really seen in his game? Because I think we can't go an episode without like touching on how much he's helped the team because season by season since he's been in the league, he's improved in almost like every aspect.
Yeah, well, like with this season, obviously, like you hear the media criticize about it. You hear what his peers have to say. You heard what Michael Jordan had to say in the offseason. It was the post game. It was the mid range. It was he needed to get back to being downhill, not taking 10 threes a game, but getting in between like the 7 and 9 threes and not losing your downhill finishing, which was down last year. But most unrealistic player progression I think I've ever seen. Like
Yeah.
since he was a rookie, they came out and were like, he needs to be a better ball handler. He needs to
Yep.
be a better passer. What did he come out in year 2 and do?
Did the same.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
And it's been like that every single year for the last 5 years, and he does it, and he does it great.
Mhm.
So yeah, with Ant this year, it's been the turnaround midi at
Mhm.
the whether it's on like at the nail or in the mid post or at the free throw line, which I've been loving that shot recently. Like I'd like to see that maybe be Ant's go-to shot in the clutch. Like you're
Yep.
down one, you don't need to settle for three. Like you have your spot, you can get two, you have your post move. So yeah, I mean, Ant he's amazing. He's obviously one of the faces of the league. For reasons like this, he gets better. He wants to win and he wants to work hard. He wants to be the best version of himself and he wants to be the best basketball player ever. So yeah, I expect just the same thing out of Ant. You just continue to he's gonna have another criticism at the end of this year and he's gonna come out next year and do it great. So
Yep.
yeah,
Agreed. I think like you said, like the progression is like insane. And apart from this season, like the other thing was crazy. It was like from the season when we lost to the Mavs to last season when he led the league in threes. Like it was it's crazy how people were like, "Oh, he doesn't have a consistent enough three-point shot. Like he doesn't like he it's not good in the catch and shoot." And then like you go out there the season after and not like you don't just improve your three-point shooting. You're shooting it at like close to 40% and led the league in threes. Like
yeah.
I don't think people understand how like crazy that is to do. And then you come back this season and like you said, like that go-to like kind of fadeaway spin jumper, like that could definitely be his go-to move. I think that's something he can lean on. I
Little
think right
Kobe Bryant-esque.
now, yep, 100%. Right now though, I think he's leaning on that like a little step back to the like on the like the left wing like
Yeah.
baseline area. He likes that shot a lot. I think he should lean more on what you were saying because I think that shot he takes it a little bit very like contested. I mean, he makes it and he says he practices it like 1,000 times a day, and it looks like he does. So if he wants to still do it, I can't really say anything. So you go ahead, but I mean, the versatility is there, and I think he's just going to keep adding to his bag. Some people keep forgetting that he's 24 years old still. Like that's still very young to be in the NBA.
Yeah, absolutely. He's not even in like what's deemed his athletic prime yet. So,
Yep.
I mean, you heard it a couple years ago. He was like, I'm doing this shit at 22. What
Hmm.
am I going to be doing when I'm 25, 26, when it's
Yeah.
perfected? And like we both said it, you see him continue to improve every year. So I'm very excited to see in the next 3 years, like the fully polished Anthony Edwards.
Yep, 100%. But other than that, I don't think we have anything else to talk about unless you wanted to add anything else really quickly before we end.
I don't think I have anything much more. No.
Perfect. Thank you for joining once again. For you guys listening, we'll try and get Matt back on for another episode sometime in the future as the season progresses. But until then, you guys can follow us on Off the Dribble at Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Off the Dribble Pod. And you guys can also go out and check out Matt's social media page. It's called the Daily Wolves. So you guys can go out, check out what they do. And yeah, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next episode. Peace.